Hey guys, David here. So I was reading Warren Berger's book, A More Beautiful Question, and I got struck with this awesome realization that we need more non experts to become questioners. And the reason for this is because you need to not know things in order to sometimes see what experts don't. And this whole idea made me dive into the rabbit hole of questioning. And last week, I did a activity called a question quickfire, which I tried to do to tackle my mission statement, which is how can I most effectively ignite curiosity in my students while nurturing their dreams so that they question continually, think critically, pursue their aspirations, and contribute to a diverse and dynamic world. And as I read this book, I kind of realized that my mission statement is almost like a series of questions that link to each other. How do I ignite curiosity, which then would let the students nurture their dreams? And if their dreams are nurtured, they're going to be able to question continually through their curiosity, which will allow them to think critically, which will allow them to then contribute to a diverse and dynamic world. So I got to thinking, how do I ask questions that start answering the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and so on? How do I start answering this? So I did this question quickfire where I created a lot of different questions. And this week I decided I need to throw this completely on its other side. And what I decided to do was I decided to try and organize all of these questions with a couple of different categories. And to do that, I tried to think of what I could focus on. So all of my questions I've recategorized this time as what do my questions focus on? And a couple of examples are personal growth. For example, what change can I make to my practice as an educator to promote mindfulness in the classroom? Student-centered questions such as what motivates 7th graders in 2019? And educational institution questions such as if technology is better suited to answer questions than ask questions, how can I teach questioning in my classroom in an authentic way that could be measured? And I liked this categorization, but I decided to dive a little deeper and try and figure out what other ways can my questions be organized, because there's so many different ways to do so. So who has the power to act? So this type of organization, I was thinking about what do my questions show and who can answer them. So I kind of realized that I can tackle some of these by myself, such as what can they leave from the room? How do they feel? What mood are they in every day? Or questions I need help answering from peers. The reason I need help is because I don't have all the answers and I need help from my colleagues trying to answer things such as, can I create a space that promotes curiosity and mindfulness while traversing my curriculum? So I need to see how other teachers are doing that. Lastly, questions that need universal support, like is it more important to teach students how to use their resources, or is it more important to find out how to use those resources? Kind of like the great debate, should students not have cell phones, or should you teach them how to use their cell phones effectively? I don't know. So that's my second categorization and trying to think about these questions. And the third one was all about question categories. And honestly, these categories weren't that helpful to me, but what I did realize, which was super helpful, was that I focus on things that I have the power to affect a lot. Like if you look at these, a lot of these say, how can I, how can I, how can I? And this made me realize through the fact that I'm trying to see what I can physically answer, maybe my questions are actually linked together somehow, which led to my fourth categorization, which I think is my favorite, which is the question connections. So what I tried to do here is I tried to focus on core problems and issues, and then I tried to look for questions that kind of focused on a micro problem, which is like part of a problem of those issues, and then I tried to look if any of my questions gave another question that would help focus on fixing those micro problems. So, for example, what is the most important takeaway from my class for my students? That question kind of links into the question, how can I shift the focus of information acquisition to asking good questions? So it was really cool to see how these questions kind of link together, and they don't link together perfectly, and you could pause the video and read through them, but I really like the idea that my questioning, because I'm focused on what things I can physically change, I kind of linked some of these subconsciously together when brainstorming. And what's really nice about this categorization is it helped me identify four most important questions that kind of impact my practice that I want to talk about. So the first question is, why have words lost so much of their meaning according to their actual definition? So what I mean by this is I'm always hearing my students say things like smart and I'm bad at, and I'm kind of like trying to think of like, what does smart mean? And people don't tend to use these words in the right way. Like smart just means what I currently know. So why do students say I'm not smart? It's the same as saying I don't currently know something. Well, go study it. That doesn't mean you can't learn it. So, or like I'm bad at. You just mean you haven't practiced it enough yet. Like listening to the words that our students are using, I feel like a lot of these words need to be more related to what the words actually mean. And if you teach this, perhaps we can change the way we talk. So that was one of the questions and one of the main issues I thought that was important to focus on. The second one was, and this is a real challenging thing for me, but how can I get my students to think of their time as a currency that they spend? Like as an educator, one of the things I firmly believe is I sell my knowledge. You know, I spent a lot of time and I'm still continuing to learn. I'm a lifelong learner, but I'm trying to learn how can I take this time and turn it into money, like an entrepreneur. And my students one day, I'm trying them to see that all the work they do will one day pay off, literally, and it will be what they sell, whether they sell that knowledge as a teacher, they sell it as an engineer, they sell it as an artist, but their knowledge is valuable. And I want them to see that that is important. So that's a huge question that I came up with. Thirdly, how can I shift the focus of information acquisition to asking good questions? You know, questioning, as the book over here by Warren Burgers taught me, is so important. And if questions build curiosity, and curiosity builds motivation, and motivation builds effort, and effort builds success, then doesn't questioning mean success? So that's another question. And my final question is, if technology is better suited to answer questions than ask questions, which is a key point brought up by Warren Burger, which I absolutely love, then how can I try and test questioning? Especially if computers are so good at answering every question with Google and other search browsers, then how do we teach people to ask the right questions? Or even how do we teach people to ask questions that Google can't answer? Things called wicked questions. So that's what I got this week. I have a lot of questions. I'm looking forward to trying to answer these in my own classroom, but ultimately, this is all started by Warren Burger, and this was questioning my questions.